Hey guys, with the Johnny Banner rerun came a very fun and interesting character. I've been testing her out a lot and she's continuously surprised me with all the things that she can do. So here's a video on how Yanfei can easily be one of your best DPS even at C0. I'll be making comparisons with Ningguang and other pyro characters throughout the video and show you how to make the most of Yanfei. Let's begin. Yanfei is a combo-based and charge attack focused catalyst user with very synergistic skills and passives, sort of similar to what we've seen in Ningguang, but with a heavier focus on AoE and generally more fluid to play since Ningguang can feel clunky at times. She's also a 4-star, which makes it easier to obtain and gather all of her constellations, and her constellations are so good that I would be pulling for them if I didn't already have Chong-Li. If you missed out on all the other pyro DPS or enjoy an active and combo-based playstyle, Yanfei might be for you. On the downside, Yanfei doesn't have the highest damage multipliers, which means that without a lot of buffs, you won't really see big flashy numbers. But if you have Ganyu, then you should know that this doesn't hinder her performance as a DPS character. Like Ganyu, she can continue to stack up damage over and over again without long cooldowns, though her stamina can become somewhat of an issue. On the upside, while most Catalyst users, including Yanfei, can be technical, she's not as hard to play as Klee, and her combos are actually pretty simple to execute since her main mechanic is very straightforward. Yanfei's playstyle focuses on her charge attacks, which you'd expect from a Catalyst user, except she takes it to the next level. Almost all her talents and constellations revolve around making her charge attacks stronger, or bringing extra buffs and benefits to her charge attack to further reinforce the playstyle. Now unfortunately, Yanfei is not really someone who wants to be put on the support role. The priority should be given to her as a primary DPS. When using basic attacks with Yanfei, you'll generate Scarlet Seals up to a maximum of 3. And these do a variety of things, such as decrease her stamina consumption, increasing pyro damage when the seals are consumed, and most importantly, allow her to deal extra charge attack damage. You can see by looking at her talent how much her seals increase the multiplier of her charge attacks, from a low multiplier value to a higher value. The first and leftmost value is your charge attack damage without any seals, and it goes up to having the maximum 4 Scarlet Seals at C6. Without C6, however, you'll need to look away from the final value. Still, it's pretty respectable damage considering how you can spam it quite often. Comparing this to Ningguang, Yanfei's charge attacks does have a lower multiplier, but it scales very hard, especially during her elemental burst, which not only allows her to spam her charge attacks with a higher multiplier due to the seal generation, but also gain increased interruption resistance for her charge attacks during the entire duration of her elemental burst. Not only that, her Ascension passive 2 lets you deal bonus damage whenever your charge attack does a critical hit. This second damage instance is also counted as charge attack damage and is important to remember because it means artifact stats and weapon effects with charge attack damage bonuses will also affect the secondary damage. I hope you've noticed that her charge attacks are AoE. The AoE of her charge attacks increase with the number of seals according to the description text. This lets her perform reaction damage to as many characters caught within the AoE, and because she's pyro, that's easy access to group melt and vaporize reactions. Hu Tao might have AoE problems, but not Yanfei. All of this adds up to quite a lot, but it should be noted that her charge attacks have very slow animation. You can't quite cancel it the way you can cancel with Klee or Ningguang, so the interruption resist from her elemental burst or the use of shields is the only way for her to reliably use her charge attacks without being interrupted. Both her elemental skill and burst have decent multipliers. They provide maximum seals and can be chained into another charge attack for maximum value. The seals are important for many reasons. For example, it decreases her charge attack stamina consumption, especially with C1. It increases Yanfei's pyro damage bonus whenever it is consumed for a charge attack thanks to her Ascension passive 1, and most importantly, they enable her charge attacks to hit for the highest possible damage, which is something you always want to do when you're using Yanfei. Both her skills and bursts have very quick animations, so you can safely use them to create quick reactions or chain them throughout your combo. I'll showcase a couple of example combos at the end, but the variations are virtually unlimited and changes depending on what you're fighting. We'll also get into detail later on how to maximize Scarlet Seal generation, since that's a big part of Yanfei's effectiveness. For skill priority, you can consider focusing on her elemental skill since it has decent damage, but I've personally focused on her elemental burst first since it increases her charge attack damage. Because the theme of her kit is managing Scarlet Seals and most of her damage revolves around them, I view her skill and burst primarily as utility to generate Scarlet Seals, and you can upgrade her skill last since it gives maximum seals even at level 1. If you choose to focus on her skill first, it provides a quick and safe way to deal decent damage, especially if you run melt or vaporize teams, but at the cost of not having a higher charge attack damage from an elemental burst focus. Just a heads up though, her skill has the hit to generate seals, and you can use it after doing normal attacks or charge attacks as a form of animation cancelling, so you can weave it in at any time for quick damage. But the best time to use it is when you have 0 seals, which usually happens at the start of the battle or right after a charge attack. With a 9-second cooldown, you'll need to be a bit more mindful of the timing to make the most of it. To quickly cover Constellations, C1 is the best value and it looks really good. It's probably the only one you're really going to be aiming for, since 10% less charge attack stamina consumption per seal, which if I assume is additive with the 15% that's built into her basic attack talent, adds up to 75% less stamina used at 3 seals, and with C6 giving 1 extra maximum seal, charge attacks that consume all 4 seals will cost 0 stamina. This will let you spam charge attacks during her burst like no tomorrow. C2 gives an extra 20% crit for charge attacks to anything less than 50% HP, and that synergizes with her passive 2 talent which I mentioned earlier, making the additional bonus damage occur more frequently. C4 opens up a new way to build Yanfei, mainly to incorporate the retracing bolide artifact set more reliably. With Yanfei being able to generate her own shield, you won't be completely relying on shield characters. And even without the bolide set, the shield will not only completely resist interruption, but also allow you to focus even more on charge attack spamming without worrying about taking damage or dodging. C6 gives you an extra seal, and combining this with C1 and the extra levels from C5, your charge attacks will not only be able to access the highest damage multiplier, but will also use 0 stamina when all 4 are consumed. Now she can dash and run around without any issues, and it also helps with seal management, especially during her burst. Okay, with that information out of the way, let's quickly cover weapons and artifacts before moving on to playstyle tips. Weapons and artifacts that benefit charge attack or general stat boosts for crit damage and crit rate especially are what you want to use for Yanfei. Effects boosting reaction damage is also worth using since it can be a direct multiplier to your charge attack damage. Of the artifact combos that I've tried, the Crimson Witch 4-piece set comes out on top, and the Gladiator set plus the Crimson Witch 2-piece set didn't feel as good on her. The Wanderer set is still something I have to try, but the Elemental Mastery and the 4-piece set boosting 35% to her charge attack makes it a good set at least on paper, if you can get the right pieces. Instead of the Wanderer set, I would actually just consider using the Retracing Bolide 4-piece set, but you'd need to run Zhongli or a shield character like Diona with her. Even better if you have C4, which allows her to shield up whenever she casts her elemental burst. The 40% extra charge attack damage is not only higher than the Wanderer's set bonus, but the extra shield strength would let you play even more aggressively without worrying about charge attack interruptions, especially with her slow animation. Weapons wise, Yanfei does purely elemental damage, so prioritize weapons that let you leverage reaction damage. 5-star weapons are obviously the best choices as Skyward Atlas and Lost Prayer's weapon effects apply to everything, meaning charge attacks will also benefit. Memory of Dust is a niche pick since its effects are too conditional. It only works when you can shield up consistently through Zhongli or Diona supports, so I wouldn't recommend this weapon especially if you're only relying on Yanfei's shield. The Skyward Atlas would let you swap more aggressively with more consistent damage, but the Lost Prayers would give you more elemental damage, and the crit weapon substat is something I'm always looking for when it comes to weapons. If you don't have 5-star weapons, the Wit Sith is your best choice, but remember to keep swapping her in and out to utilize the damage from the weapon effects, as even the EM buff is very good on her. My Yanfei pull luckily came with a Wit Sith copy, but if you don't have one, You can consider using the Black Cliff weapon for the crit damage substat, or the Solar Pearl for the crit rate substat to make it easier to build her. Solar Pearl is interestingly better on her than most Catalyst users, since normal attacks generate seals for her, which means that you'll weave in normal attacks for all her combos. For craftable options, the Mappa Mari actually works really well for elemental damage and elemental mastery. You can go with the Frostbearer if you're more interested in solo Yanfei damage, but the Mappa Mari would actually come out on top if you take advantage of vaporize or melt combos. Now, I mentioned at the start that Yanfei is a highly synergistic combo-based character. An optimal Yanfei damage is achieved through maintaining, generating, and expending maximum Scarlet Seals with each charge attack. Maximum seals provide decreased stamina consumption, increased pyro damage when consumed, and most importantly, allow her to deal higher damage charge attacks. With 3 or 4 maximum seals depending on your constellations, you'll be able to deal big damage with the least amount of stamina. Thankfully, generating seals and maintaining them is easy enough, and even at C0, you'll have more than enough seals to keep consuming them with minimal effort, especially with your burst up. Yanfei's main combo is simply a 1-2-3 charge combo, where she chains 3 normal attacks followed by a charge attack to finish off. Using this as a baseline, you can incorporate her skill and burst to create variations at any given time during the combo. For example, one combo I like to use at C0 is to start with her elemental skill straight into a charge attack, and then either using 3 normal attacks to create more seals, or use her burst and focus on using charge attack whenever you see the maximum seals. If you decide to use her burst, keep an eye on your stamina, since it can put you in a dangerous position, especially without C1 stamina reduction. Understanding her Ascension passive 1 can elevate your overall damage, and is something we haven't really discussed. When you perform a charge attack, Yanfei receives a pyro damage bonus that scales with each seal consumed, but it's only applied for any damage done for the next 6 seconds. The caveat is that if you perform another charge attack within 6 seconds, with less number of seals, you'll have a lesser version of the pyro damage bonus applied, since it dispels the previous effects. So in order to avoid doing less damage, try not to spam charge attacks outside of your burst, and make sure to always have seals up before you use your charge attack. The final part to cover is teams. Honestly speaking, proper teams are the dividing line between a really solid Yanfei and a really bad one. Even a typical pyro reaction based team should work for her, so you can start by putting Xingqiu in for vaporize or any cryo application characters, especially the AoE based ones like Diona or Rosaria, or Melt. Diona can protect Yanfei and give her elemental mastery at C6, and Rosaria increases your overall team damage and also improve Yanfei's crit rate, which synergizes really well with her Ascension passive. Shield characters like Zhongli, Noelle, Diona, all of which are available in her banner, enable the retracing bolide to be built on her and add a lot of durability to Yanfei's low HP, often preventing silly and unexpected deaths. Pyro Resonance is solid too. Like Ningguang, Yanfei can also sit on top of Bennett's buff circle with her long range, making Bennett yet another good support pick as always. Finally, support characters to help with CC or deal extra damage like Sucrose or Fischl would work too. If you want to use Venti, Yanfei can't really hit enemies within Venti's burst with her charge attack, but Yanfei's elemental skill and normal attacks can still affect enemies within Venti's burst. And as long as she's the primary DPS, you can even bring burst characters like Child and Mona to capitalize on Vaporize with their big multipliers. So, if you enjoy actively using high synergy characters like Ningguang, or enjoy high DPS pyro characters in general, you'll definitely come to love Yanfei. And even though she is a 4-star character, this one is especially strong. But make sure to complement her weaknesses by building proper teams dedicated to her. Don't forget to like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe if it helped you out in any way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.